So hello, welcome to How We Listen Live, the knowledge to move your music forward. Part one agenda, this is what we're working on today. So talk about Byta as I usually do, talk about how we listen so everybody knows what how we listen is, how it relates to Byta, and most importantly, why we do it. And then as usual, I do a series of announcements at the end, including what the next event is next month. And then in part two, we're going to talk to Chioma from TuneCore. So that's next. But first, I'm Mark Brown for people who have never been here before. I'm the founder and CEO of Byta. I'm Canadian, lived in England for years. Now I live in Stockholm, Sweden. And as I say every time, it's super important when you're looking for information or you're learning something new about working in and around the music ecosystem, either as an artist or someone working behind the scenes. It's pretty good to understand where people come from, how they began working and what they're doing, because perspectives are quite important. And that's something we talk about with all our guests here. So my background, I started at an independent record label in Canada back in the mid-90s, before the internet. Then I moved to the UK and I worked at a series of labels there. In the A&R department, mostly. And then I started my own boutique radio and TV promotion company in the UK. And so then I started Byta just before I moved to Stockholm, Sweden. But what is Byta for people who don't know? Byta is the platform that enables sending and receiving of digital audio in a clean, simple, and secure way, built for everyone working with music today. What does that mean in practice? Fast and secure audio sharing. And how do we do that? Why are we different than, say, other platforms or other tools people use? We do it in three ways because we take advantage of audio files' unique properties. First and foremost, we read and write audio file metadata, including WAV files. So audio metadata is all that information that's embedded in the files. Second, we convert file formats on the fly, and that means you can upload things in lossless format and then send it in lossy format, so WAV to MP3. You can do those conversions on the fly just by clicking a little menu. And then also streamability. Our streaming is super fast, yet it's not vulnerable to stream ripping, which is a serious problem. People don't share files, they just rip streams these days. So that is what makes Byta unique. If you want to know any more about music sharing, we released a white paper, a research document at the end of last year, which is the first one ever. It explains everything about how people like to send and receive digital audio. So it's great for anyone who has to do that, which we all have to do. So Jamie will throw a link in the chat, I believe. But this is our mission statement. So getting into like why would we publish a research document or a white paper? That's because our goal is to provide artists and their teams with the tools and the knowledge to move their careers forward. Yeah. So how do we do that? It seems pretty obvious. Number one, Byta, it's a tool for sending and receiving digital audio. Great. But then what we realized a couple of years ago is that a lot of people are always also looking for the knowledge. So what to do, who to send their audio to, what is the context around music sharing, all that kind of stuff. So what we did was we started How We Listen. And How We Listen started this series a couple of years ago where we ask 10, I think it's 10 or 11 standard questions. It's done it's on web only. And we interview people about how they find and discover and listen and experience new music, mostly new music. And like the reason this came up was because, well, certainly I or we as a company would be reading lots of stuff about, oh, well, you know, like all you do is throw your music up on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon, and then you just lean back and everything's great and everything just happens right away. You know, it gets picked up by an algorithm or you get on a playlist. And so that's why I'm saying here, algorithms are not your savior. You're not suddenly going to be everywhere overnight. And getting on a playlist, like say Spotify's Rap Caviar, which is the biggest playlist, most popular playlist maybe, hope it is still, it's not a solution. Those are just small things that happen in a larger sea of things you need to do to move your career forward with. And so what we like to do every month is give a couple examples of what people say and the insights that you can read from following any of the series we do, because we do a couple others. So Korea, I hope I'm saying their name right, from Indica Records. This is a perfect example of what people are talking about. And this is the kind of stuff that you find out reading our white paper. I get a lot of music links sent to me, and I like things to be simple. People love simple. I don't want to download. Some people do like to download, but this person does not like to download. So SoundCloud, Byta, or Disco links are great. Just make sure the link actually works. That kind of insight, it sounds ridiculous, but let's face it, everybody sent out a link that hasn't worked before. So, something to think about. And so this is a response to one of our How We Listen questions. But we also do a new series that we launched early in the year called Method to My Music. And this series is more focused on artists or people creating music, producers, sort of the studio-based side of it. And the word studio is a broad church. So Oliver from A Place to Bury Strangers and Death by Audio, he says, it doesn't make sense for me to personally separate being a musician and a producer. I get why people do it, but for me, growing up in an environment where the music I make is against the grain of what's acceptable, it wasn't possible to find people to work with. The sound and the production of music are part of performing it, being like a musician. And I think this lends to a lot of the stuff that I end up talking about with artists, and that you're wearing many hats and you're doing many things, and that it's hard to separate all these jobs from one another. That's just what it's like being an artist or being a musician in 2022. And then this series, Digital Dialogue, is the third we run. And it's a series of guest posts where people talk about a more in-depth issue. We've had a couple on neighboring rights, one on metadata, I think was the first one. Jamie will throw some links in the chat. And this is the most recent one. The guys from Byta talking about piracy, I believe, streaming fraud. And so that's Andrew Beatty on the right, who I've talked to before, and he's quite a chatty guy. And so I'll read their quote. Streaming fraud is when an individual or a group leverages bots, stolen accounts, or manipulated platform features to alter the perception of their own commercial success and or steal streaming income that otherwise belongs to every legitimate artist and music industry professional. So Jamie will throw this link in the chat, and I'm sure you've all seen photos of like bot farms in China with loads of phones playing things. And so what these guys do is super interesting. So this article is super interesting to read. So we do How We Listen, we do Method to My Music, we do Digital Dialogue. What is How We Listen Live? Well, How We Listen Live is basically a more in-depth version of How We Listen. So people that we find interesting, we think they know specific things about a specific part of the business, or live in a different part of the world to where we are. And so it's just a way to exchange more information over a longer period of time. And that's exactly why we do it. It's just a great opportunity to get together and chat about things. And as I say every time, we give a little money to Maitri. The people who do these events, no one gets paid. There are no fees. So we throw a little money at Maitri, which is focused around supporting people with short-term mental health challenges who are feeling suicidal. Super important to us. If you don't know anything about it and you live in the UK, screenshot this. You can look it up for yourself. Hopefully there's one of these organizations where you are. Mental health is super important. It's very important to me and to other people in our company. So that's why we want to highlight that. And then as always, we have a partner, and this is Women in Music Nigeria. Women in Music is an organization around the world, but specifically the Nigeria chapter. And Chioma is going to talk about that in a bit because she's part of that organization. So we'll do that when we chat. And then this is where I'm supposed to talk about all the blog posts I write, but I haven't done that in ages. So I'm just going to advertise myself. this is where you can go to find all my details. If you ever want to get in touch, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always available there. I'm never on Twitter. Instagram's better, whatever. Email me. You ever want to know anything, the door is always open. So just screenshot that. Another important thing, Facebook group. Depending on how you like to get your info, we post everything we're doing in there, especially about these events. That's the best way to do it. Or we have a mailing list, sign up for that. And then YouTube, the key to remember is what we do, people come, you can come to the event live, you can sign up for the event and get a link directly, a beta link, I think a couple days after of the audio. Or then we put it up on YouTube. And then now, I should mention this, everything goes up as a podcast on all, Spotify, Apple Music. There's too many podcasts, places to listen. So no matter where you are, if you can't make the event, if you can hang out in person, you can find your way around, not just on YouTube. YouTube, if you want to see all my hats, and now that I've got a beard. Then finally, what everybody always wants to know is what's the next event. This one's going to be good. Miller Williams from Cobalt talking about Sync, Tuesday, 30th of August. Tickets in the normal place. Hopefully everybody's going to sign up. Any questions? Again, screenshot this, email me, drop me a line, hit me up on LinkedIn, anything that works for you. Okay, there we go. And before I track down Chioma, I want to suggest something that we've never done before. Let me look at the chat. Can everybody, if anybody listens to any bands, has any favorite bands from Africa, can you post links to your favorite artists in the chat? But most importantly, the artist, a link to some place to listen to it, YouTube, Spotify, whatever, but the artist name and the country they're from. So I think this is a super awesome opportunity for people to learn about some artists they might not know about, because I was going through my Spotify and I listened to tons of different African artists from a ton of different countries. I'll save the chat maybe, and we'll find a way to get it to everybody else. So Chioma, are you there?
Yes.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey. So it's Chioma or Oma, is that correct?
Any's fine. Any's fine.
All right, perfect. And
Hey,
so
everyone.
hello, and so where are you dialing in from?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Nice, nice. So when we chatted yesterday just to see what you wanted to talk about and stuff, and pardon me, where do you work? Just before, what's your official title? That's
okay. So I work with TuneCore. I head West and East Africa for the business, and yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So I'm the head of TuneCore for West and East Africa.
Okay, and so when we were talking yesterday, you said because I love these stories. You said you fell into music by accident, because there's so many people that want to get into it. They're dying to work in music. And so I was super surprised when you're like, oh yeah, like it was totally by mistake. So can you explain sort of how that happened?
Yeah, so I always like to, let me say introduce or think about myself more of as like a marketing individual. So this was right after my master's degree, when I came back from the UK for my master's degree in 2016. And yeah, I'd never worked in the industry, entertainment industry, nothing. I did at some point in my life wanted to be like a musician or a singer or something, but I never pursued it. It was there a little bit. But but I was my brother introduced me to a friend of his who was in the industry. He had like a music aggregator business that he had. It was like one of the well-known ones, we had in Lagos, Nigeria here. He now has another business where it's a music streaming platform called uduX. So that was how I got into the business, basically. Spent 3 years in there. Wasn't so 100% sure if music was it for me. I knew I needed something more. I stepped away from the industry, went into a marketing agency. COVID hit. I was really, enjoying where I was. And then I saw the opportunity with TuneCore, and, everything being being awesome, and, the interview process and everything, I got the job. So I've been there ever since. back in the industry.
And do you, I don't know if we talked about this, but how long has TuneCore been operating in? How long have they had people, offices there? Has it been a while?
No, not so long. So, I mean, Chico has been around for a very long time, I think since 2005. But of course, as a, being a smart business, seeing that you're getting clients from all over the world and, you're trying to cater and serve, artists like all over the world, they noticed they had access, everywhere, including Africa. So it was only, it only made sense that, you should localize the business, bring in a local hire and, and see how you can also expand the business there, understand the market, which is very important. And while, you're understanding the market, you're then able to cater, to your clients from those, different regions, because every region is different, so that's kind of it. So they started expanding the business, to different locations in Europe, of course, Asia, and of course now Africa as well.
So, and you do, did you say Central and West Africa officially, or West Africa is your?
West and East Africa. So I just have, I think 3 territories in East Africa, and then the bulk of the territories are from West Africa. I mean, I'm West African anyway, so
yeah. So for people who don't know their geography that well, let's break it down. Everybody knows, say, South Africa. There's someone who runs the South African part of the business. Continue.
So we have someone who runs South Africa. There was someone there previously who had a larger territory. So it was Southern Africa, because I mean, there's South Africa, the country, and then there's Southern Africa, which consists of countries like, of course, South Africa, Botswana, and the likes of them. And then you have West Africa, which is where you have Nigeria, where I'm from, Ghana, Liberia, Gambia. There's Central Africa, where, you have I think Congo is in there, if I'm not mistaken, DRC, and a bunch of other territories. I think there's a lot of French-speaking territories in Central Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have East Africa. So you find Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia is also in there. So we just have me for West Africa handling 3 other countries in East Africa. And then now we just have someone in South Africa who's just in charge of the country, South Africa.
Yeah. So the East African countries you do are, I just, by the way, I am totally cheating. I'm looking at a map right now to make sure.
Please do. I'm, as much as an African, I know everything, so I might cheat as well. So I handle in East Africa. I handle Tanzania and Ethiopia, and more recently Kenya.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. Good. I've got it. So, because what I really want to get a vibe on is, because everybody's talking about Africa as a music market all the time, right? But going through, like I was saying, going through my Spotify or whatever, I totally listen to stuff from the 70s and 80s, and but what is it? What do you think it is over, say, the last 10 years that there's so much? There are these streaming platforms, of course. But what do you think it is that started to change, that there's so much attention on the African market?
I think my humble opinion is, for one, the music is also getting to the rest of the world. And I think social media also plays a very big part in that. Social media has also played a very, wonderful bridge where different music is now, kind of crossing over easily. Of course, streaming platforms, that are global and stuff. I think that really plays a part. And that aside, there's great music coming out, from Africa now. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know a lot of music, it's being played in parties in different international markets and stuff. So I think social media played a role particularly. And then of course there's amazing music, something different, something that you listen to and you actually get your body moving. It's different from the normal hip hop R&B that you hear maybe in your markets and stuff. So I think that's
So you think it's because that's sort of what I'm saying, there's always been amazing African music, but do you feel it's become, because of social media, it's become easier to reach people much farther afield?
I think it's made it easier. Definitely, I think it's made it easier for people to discover that. I mean, you have challenges happening online, and it goes viral. When we say
Yeah.
viral, we're not talking about just viral in your own local, your own country, but it's going like worldwide and things like that. So I think I do feel like, yeah, social media played a very big part, 100%.
And so how, this is a very general question. Like, so if you take, say, Nigeria, for example, like how is the music business very big there? Like, because when we were talking yesterday, you were saying a lot of your job, you feel, is to help educate newer artists about what to do. And, you know, so is there a lot of infrastructure for, say, if I was an artist living in Nigeria and I'm like, okay, I've made a track. Like, are there a lot of people I can go to who have been successful before, or is it slowly building up?
Yeah, I mean, in a place like Nigeria, South Africa, even Ghana, definitely. So maybe when we speak for like infrastructure, let's say on the audience side, so that would be like streaming platforms, we'll say, okay, it's taking off way more in South Africa, and then it's picking up in other territories gradually. Like, we expect to see huge growth in terms of like number of people using, these streaming platforms, and of course, revenue being generated, increasing in some other territories, while it's higher in, some other ones. But definitely, you have successful artists here that, up and coming artists can look up to. You now find, investments from like major labels and even companies like TuneCore now, turning the focus to these markets, because yes, there's definitely something, happening here. There's a global lens now, on the African market. So it's like the next space for like investment, in terms of the music industry. So I can say yes, 100%. It's picking up. African artists are winning like international awards, like the Grammys and things like that. So 100%. There's a lot of like, I'll say, that supports, and even like infrastructure, or like, people that can also help your career. I mean, they all have different business models, but they are here now. You have streaming platforms localizing. Spotify is here now. There's Boomplay. I don't know if you guys have that over there. YouTube has also been here for a very long time. So 100%, yeah.
And then, but let's also talk, because we were chatting about this yesterday. This whole idea, because I thought this was a super interesting insight on your part. This idea of like Afrobeat. Everybody goes, oh, okay, I know what that is. But then you're smiling, because this idea that everybody knows some artist, but they don't know much about maybe the artist's background or where they're from. And because I'm assuming like you're going to be super G'd up on everything, right? So, but for say someone who's new to understanding, say, the nuances and differences in African music, is that what you see a lot? That, say on a more international front, you're like, oh, they don't really know anything about what's going on. They just know a couple artists, who, like you said, who won Grammys or something like that. Like, what's your take on all that kind of stuff?
So I think, and this is just my own opinion from like, kind of gauging social media, maybe looking at people's comments when, a Nigerian artist, or maybe an African artist, let me just use that term, is talked about, or their music is being played or something. A lot of the times you find, okay, oh, Afrobeats, oh, I love Afrobeats. I have an Afrobeat playlist, or, oh, I love one artist or the other. But a lot of the times a lot of the times they might not know, okay, where exactly is this artist from? Is it from South Africa? Is this artist Nigerian? Is this artist from where? So it's either they just say the genre in question that they love, or maybe the artist that they love, they love his or her sound, so to say. But I don't always hear, oh, I love like Nigerian music, or I love South African music. It's that, oh, I love Amapiano, or I love Afrobeats. That's kind of what I've gotten quite a bit. So that's it's really interesting. So I think maybe it's because the shifts kind of is the shifts with the global markets now focusing on music from Africa. Maybe we need more time for that to also now get into place where it's more like, oh, this Thames, I love her, she's a Nigerian artist, Afrobeats or whatever, so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's kind of my own observation. Like, yeah,
because I think like definitely if say, if you're learning about something new, you find out about things in a more general sense, right? So you think, oh, okay, I've never been to the United States, and you don't know every little different state in the United States. But so it's natural that people maybe aren't as clued in as they should be. But because I just thought of this now, do you think it has to do with the fact that like people don't know so much about the artists they listen to anymore?
It could be. I mean, it's difficult to answer that question as to what it is. It could just be the sense of I just love the sound and that's about it. And they just haven't maybe taken the time to just dig deeper to learn more about the artist and where the artist is from. And that can now open a whole new world of like, other artists that they could also fall in love with. So it's tricky. It's kind of hard to just maybe like, pinpoint exactly, what it is. Not taking away that, yes, some actually, do that research to learn more, maybe follow them on social media just to learn, okay, where this person is from exactly. But yeah, that's quite a tricky one.
Because the other thing, like, I don't know what, like, I didn't even know what Amapiano is. So like, and I can't believe I'm admitting these things, like, because this is being recorded or whatever. But so can you? So okay, so let's do it this way. So what people call Afrobeat, where would you say that comes from? Would you say it's a genre of music that comes from a certain country in Africa?
For the sake of avoiding a fight or debate with West African countries, because there's a tug of war between, certain African countries where Afrobeats originated from. Let's say Afrobeats is a West African sound. Let's put it
very diplomatic. Very diplomatic.
There's a West African sound, in West Africa, we're very, very brother sister like. We're very similar yet different and all. So we share that sound. Basically, yeah, we make the same sound. Same will go with also high life. It's also really like a genre and stuff. So it's a West African sound.
Okay, so and this is super nerdy, but like, what's the difference between Afrobeat and high life then?
They're actually very different. That's for me, is even a tricky question, given that I'm not like a beat maker or anything. So I think they're kind of different. It's just, I think the sound, I think has to do more with the instruments used with like high life. I don't know how to explain it. Even I myself, I can say I 100% understand it, and I listen to a lot of high life today. But I think it's just, the composition and all that. That's kind of makes a difference. The instruments used. So yeah, but I think the more popular sound is definitely Afrobeats.
Okay. Oh wait, Toby, do you have a question? You've raised your hand. Do you know the difference? If you want to take yourself up, hey.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to just clarify. So yeah, so iLife is, I mean, it has its foundation in the blues, so the old James Brown and everything. So it's evolved into the iLife, then Afrobeats. That's the core fella thing. But Afrobeats with an S is more what we have now. So it's the 5-beat sound. So it's really different from what people like Burna Boy is doing, which is more like Afrofusion. So there's a bit of confusion between all these genres, yeah. But like Chioma said, so I mean everything is better classified as Afrobeats with an S, just to avoid these confusions. But anybody that is willing to learn can just understand that it's different. A whole lot of sounds coming from Africa. I mean, there's about 1,000+ cultures and languages. So definitely there are different sounds coming from Africa.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks for raising your hand. Okay, Max. Oh boy, we've opened a can of worms here. So Max, do you want?
I tried to be diplomatic, man.
No, I know. You're so right. I should have kept my mouth shut. So Toby, can you write in the chat where you're from? And Max, can you tell us where you're from first before you?
Yeah. So I was born in Cameroon.
Okay.
South Cameroon. So I'm from Cameroon. And in a nutshell, to answer the question, as Toby said, that's absolutely on the money. That's correct. I just gave an example. Sweet Mother by Prince John Kobaga. He's half Cameroonian, half Nigerian. High life, traditional Afro high life, simple. A lot of instrumentals, high-pitched guitars. Afro beats, a lot more drums, a lot more rhythms. That's the difference. A lot more modern sounds. High life, it is influenced heavily by the blues. That is correct. Please listen to those two songs. You hear the difference.
But that's great. I really appreciate that. Thanks for chiming in, both of you. So then, just to run away from this before I get schooled anymore. Like this Amapiano is that basically South African house?
Yeah, you could say that basically. It's like house. that's kind of how I understand it and how I see it. So it's very much kind of like house. It has its own way. It's the composition is quite different, but it definitely originated, of course, from South Africa, even though there's been crossovers, to West Africa as well. So yeah, 100%.
Because I was listening to a couple mixes on YouTube before we chatted. So like now, one of the other things that I thought was what was really interesting was like we were discussing the dynamics between, say, Nigeria and Ghana as being like they have very different, what you sort of described as very different sort of, the artists have different ways of working or different priorities or personality, like, because I thought you were very articulate when we talked about it in the way that they work. And I think they're two very important markets that you deal with, right? So tell everybody a bit what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, again, I gotta be diplomatic here, but
yes.
So I mean, in my experience, I recently went to Ghana and engaged with a few music business people there, and a lot of it. I think what you said, priority. I think that's the word. Not saying that it's not a general issue, but it is a general issue, but maybe a little bit more from the feedback I got from the top leaders there, so to say. It seems the focus there for them is being popular and stuff, but there is this like, how do I word this now? Should I say lack of a push on their end to even learn how you can get there, so to say. Now, I don't know if it's a case of not having a lot of these, for instance, educational initiatives towards artists, a lack of support from radio stations playing more Ghanaian music. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of just seems like in terms of, being proactive and active and learning from top leaders, especially examples when there are music conferences, master classes, workshops that are beneficial to you as an up and coming artist that can help your career, help you understand the business of music, and hopefully help you be successful. There aren't a lot of people who are attending these types of, so the turnups are not really that great. It seems they're more focused on just the creative side and things like that. So that's kind of what I've seen. Not to say that we don't have that here in Nigeria where people don't show up, but at least in my experience, given that I'm Nigerian and I'm here and I plan a lot of, these types of education initiatives and been invited to a lot of them, the turn up is really great.
Yeah.
Here. So, I mean, as given Ghana is one of my territory, that is something I'm hoping to see if we could change, given that education for me is very important, as part of the way we support artists, to see how can we have more of this. Maybe it's a case of we don't have more of this and they're not showing up and things like that. Where can we put out more resources for them and things like that? Or not just putting it out, but getting them to go check out those resources because it's beneficial. So that's kind of, I'll say the feedback I've gotten, so to say, basically. But yeah, interestingly.
So with Nigeria, then tell me about some of the, because I love, again, that's what How We Listen is. It's all about this idea that teaching people that they can do it themselves, that they empowering either people, like you who get into a new business and they're like, I don't know anything. And then, it works for you and stuff, or artists just trying to learn how to navigate through the music ecosystem. What are the big popular initiatives in Nigeria that you've noticed around master classes? What kind of people do, I'm curious to know which speakers they find interesting there, and and what are the events that people feel, do you know what I mean? Because every country is different about what they think is important and what they think the key tools are. So I'm curious to get your insights on that.
This one is tricky. I mean, there are people. So what I've found a lot of the time is how do I put it? Top leaders. So these are people who are known in the industry for maybe successfully developing an artist, or they have a lot of knowledge, or they have some kind of music podcast or something. A lot of the times you find people who would take it upon themselves to create some kind of like a program,
Yeah.
I know there's like one, like a music business academy by Godwin Tom, who is like a very notable music business person. And then another thing I've noticed, like award shows now are also starting to create a segment with it, like a music business conference segment before the award show. So I know at Freeman is like one of like the biggest music award shows that we have here. They started doing that. I think they started that last year, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have bodies like Make Music Lagos. So Make Music is like this initiative. I think it started from Paris. It's been going on for a long time. So they have different Make Music events all over the world. They too also, I partnered with them quite a bit, like twice now. I know I partnered with them this year. And they too also have like a music business conference. So, I've noticed, especially in Nigeria, more people creating those, whether they're creating what's it called, a conference that'll be recurring, or to do like a one-off masterclass kind of a thing in partnership with somebody. That's a lot of what you would see here, which I think is a really good thing. And I myself, I kind of look out for this, like types of partnerships to partner, because it's something I'm interested in. I want to be in a place where I know there's up and coming artists who need this information and the education, because like you're saying, education, information is power. It's can help you get to where you are. So that's kind of what you see. You also find sometimes, like what I did in Ghana recently with the very successful producer Jules. He reached out to us saying he wants to create like a series of workshops for aspiring producers. And, we definitely hopped on board. It's called Process Ghana. So that's what you kind of find, a lot of like maybe individuals creating these sessions, and then other like bigger bodies, like maybe award shows or like, festivals, like Make Music, for instance, something like that will come up, with things like that. So yeah, there's more of it happening now, I would say.
And why do you think there's more of it? Because people, like the interest that comes from people being successful means that more people want to try to think that it's possible to be a successful artist. And then
yeah, go on.
No, you go.
Yeah, I think that's one, but I also think and this is my experience, and the experience of a lot of people, thought leaders here as well, is you get a lot of requests. Either they're asking for mentorship from you, or they're asking for like they're asking questions of, what can they do to be successful and things like that. So it inspires these ideas, these types of ideas to come up with like gatherings and workshops where people can come together to interact with you, because obviously you can't cater to everybody one-on-one. You can't help everybody be successful. You can't, it's exhausting, and you have you have your job. So why don't you create somewhere you can invite people to, and then give them the opportunity to learn and interact with like top leaders, and maybe network and build relationships with each other, and of course the music people who are in the room as well. So I think it's a combination of both a lot of times.
Okay, and I want to say, if anybody's got any questions, throw them in the chat, and I'll start. We can get to those if anybody's got any specific questions. But then I also wanted to mention, like, we should talk about Women in Music, because we have Women in Music as a partner, and that's an organization that you work with. So why don't you tell everybody, Jamie, if you've got a link, throw it in the chat. But Oma, why don't you sort of talk about what Women in Music is, so everybody knows what that is and why it's important to you?
Yeah, so Women in Music is basically like an organization to support, women, female music creators and female music business women in the industry. It's HQ, its headquarters it has its headquarters in the US, and I think about maybe 6 to 10 chapters all over the world. I think there's one in India. The very first one in Africa was actually Women in Music South Africa. That was the very first chapter that was set up, and then we followed suit earlier this year. So yeah, basically I like to always describe it as like a community of women in the industry, whether you're on the creator side or you're like, on the business side, when you can come together to support each other, provide education, and just any way we can push women forward in the industry. Because I'm pretty sure it's similar if not all markets, where a lot of the time the men take center stage in every aspect, whether it's on the creator side or on the business side, So for us, our ultimate aim is to have, more female musicians winning awards, female musicians, creating streams. So, okay, you say, you get information or data like, oh, this amount of money was made in streaming revenue from Nigeria. I want to know what percentage of that was generated by female creators. Do you understand? So it's, we also hopefully will be able to kind of get into doing some research and get data to actually say, oh, this is really like the issue. There's not enough like inclusion in this industry. Like it seems the men are way more favored or preferred, and maybe even try to understand why is that exactly. Why would a label rather sign a male artist over a female? And we know, but
the patriarchy. That's why. Exactly. The patriarchy.
Just to show, things like that. Yeah. Exactly. And then, create, this one is dear to my heart, and I'm praying I can get it off the ground, or we can get it off the ground this year, is, especially for the business side of those, like people like me, for instance, where if there are openings in like music related companies, say like a Spotify, YouTube, or whatever, we're able to kind of be the very first, our community is the very first to be considered, to, sit through to see, is there a candidate here that fits the role, kind of a thing. So that means building relationship with these, partners and, music businesses to say, hey, we have a community of women who have different years of experience in different areas of the industry or the business that you should consider. Build a relationship with like their HR or talent acquisition team or HR business partner and things like that. So that's really what it is, just ways where we can support and, push the female creator, the female business person forward and just change things up and, get everything to be a little bit more equal. So that's really women in music. That's really why we wanted to bring it down to Nigeria, because, we have that problem of like, equality in the industry. As I'm not say especially in Africa, but particularly in Africa, so to say. So,
and is that something like from personal experience? Is that something you've experienced in your time in music that you feel maybe you might not feel that you've been personally affected, but when you look out into the wider music business, like in Nigeria, when you go to Ghana, do you feel represented or?
Not the it could be better. Let me put it that way.
It can always be better. It can always be better. But how is it now? Do you feel?
It's not. I think I'll stick with it could be better. Let me just put it that way. It could be better. I want a situation where I'm seeing more female award categories. Do you understand? Irrespective of what level the artist is or success or whatever, let's have more of those. So that's also something we're considering. So it for me, in my opinion, it could be better. I'll say there are successful, female musicians and all, but let's have more. I think
there's not enough of them. Yeah,
exactly. There's not enough of them. There's a lot of amazing artists, but for some reason the opportunity isn't really there. Even female MCs or whatever make it. It's just they're there. They're just not getting the opportunity. So how can we help them? Yeah.
And again, that's a lot of that's by education. I think like the more.
So it's not just education. Of course, that's for the creators and the business people. But then how do we engage these? Let me use the word powerhouses that can actually shake and move things for them. How can we get them to actually also see them, consider them, and, hopefully get to work with them and things. So, yeah.
Like that's an interesting word you use, to see them, to be seen. And I think that that is a problem that so many people are looked over. They're just not seen, and you have to fight for that position. So that's why I think it's super good to talk about that. Now we've got a couple questions from Bobby, who I know. So where is the best place to learn about the local subgenre? Oh my God, maybe we're going to have to get Max and Toby in on this too. Where is the best place to learn about the local subgenres in Africa and city, country, or source? So like, if you really want to nerd out and like, is that even, I can't even imagine that there's one place you're going to learn about everything, but how do you find out about?
I don't know all the genres. I'll be lying. That's not even, I have the sounds I like to listen to and all, but I'll listen, Google. just Google.
Okay.
I think you might want to Google and then maybe try using like a YouTube or a Spotify to actually just listen to the sound, and things like that. So yeah, I think that's That's just it. I don't know. Unless someone else has like another idea, but typically I just Google stuff or ask.
So
questions.
yeah, Toby or Max, if you've got any ideas, just because you replied last time, feel free. You don't need we don't need to chat about it, but if you want to throw any ideas in the chat, because I got a couple more questions from Bobby. So and this one I think is actually quite a good one. Where is the best place to learn about the music business in Africa? So like if I'm an artist, or say someone I'm like, because you said you went to school in the UK, right?
Yeah, I did my master's in the UK.
Yeah. So say I was living in Nigeria or in Ghana or something, and I wanted to go learn about the music business. Do you, because like in the UK, there's tons of schools specifically to learn the music business. Has that started in Africa yet, where there are schools specifically teaching certain programs?
Yeah, there are music schools. I can't remember the names. There's a few I had in my mind before, but there are music schools here. I'm 100% sure they also touch on like the business parts as well, not just, creating music and stuff. So there are music school if that is something that you want to do. But I think a really good one as well is, like I mentioned, like talks like this, for instance, where there's someone that's talking about it, is a good place to learn. Even I in here, I'm learning a lot of stuff as well. So yeah, anyway you can find conferences, boot camp, things like that, because what it is you have these people who've been in the industry and understand it very well that are going to be in the room talking about maybe a particular topic, and it's a great way to come in and learn from them and even ask questions as well. So yeah. So there are music schools, but I mean, a lot of times conferences could be free. So
yeah, access. It's all about access. So Maya posted something, Music Business Africa. This is a 20-week program. Huh. Interesting. Okay. So the one last sort of thing I wanted to talk about was this, because I evoked quite a strong reaction in you yesterday when we were talking about like what you think artists need to do, and you were like, treat music like a business. And I want to hear your sort of thoughts about that, but then I think we should really sort of end with lots of detail about what you think, because you're in a great position. You work with loads of different artists of different sizes and different stages. And so why did you react so strongly? Like it must be something you've seen before. So I want to know a bit more of your thoughts behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I have seen, and it's something, my peers in the industry have also complained about. So what you find is you have artists that just especially maybe an artist that doesn't even have a team, because when you have a team, typically they'll help you, structure things and treat it like a business and all. But let's say they were like independent, or they don't have a team, or maybe they have a small team of like friends who maybe don't know anything about business. You find that they end up either just focusing on one part. So it's either they're just focusing on just the creative side of the music, or sometimes they'll focus on just the distribution, but then you're not thinking about the promotion, or you're promoting without distributing. So I always like to use this analogy. All the time. So I don't know if you've ever heard about the 4 Ps of marketing.
No.
Yeah, so it's something in marketing. Sometimes it's a 7 Ps. I always like to stick to the 4 Ps because it's shorter. So it's basically price, it's products, it's placement, and then promotion. So these are like the 4 things you need to consider when you have a product. So when I say artists treat your music like a business, the artists themselves, they're the business, the product is the music. So price, now, not every aspect you might, especially when it comes to distribution and streaming revenue, you might not have any control. That's kind of dictated by the streaming platforms. They all have structures. But then you have things like the licensing side of things. So for instance, sync, and when it comes to the PROs and stuff, you can kind of dictate, okay, what you want to charge for something. Maybe if you're making physical CD copies, you can also manipulate with. Now, of course, the product is the music. You need to make sure you're making good music. You need to have people review it and give you feedback. Yeah, maybe you didn't come in through, like an A&R or anything, or you don't have a team that can kind of listen, to the music and all that. But, maybe running through friends, or have an understanding of what's what's happening in terms of music consumption or trends, because unfortunately there are trends that happen, and like a place
fortunately there are trends.
Yeah.
So you can learn it. It depends.
So
if you don't pay attention, it's bad. If you pay attention, it could be good.
Exactly. I like that you said that, because yes, 100%, so you need to, and then aside from that too, you might need to be able to adapt to changes and trends, because at the end of the day, it's the consumers and what are they enjoying. I did say something to you yesterday that a lot of the times, the market's not going to adapt to you. You might have to adapt to the market you're coming into. Do you get? Yeah. So for instance, Afrobeat is really big here. You have to ask yourself the question, like, okay, do I want to make money, or do I just want to be like, known, popular, but maybe not make money? Do you understand? So you might need to get into Afrobeat. Yeah, that's
I like
where, that's
sorry.
No,
sorry, I'm totally talking over you. But you said yesterday, which I thought was super insightful, that you made the difference between, do I want to be popular or do I want to make money? And there's this idea that you can be and I think that's what backs up everything you're saying, is the idea that you can be popular and not make any money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, I mean, but to get back to the point with the 4 Ps, that's the product side of things, understanding trends, knowing, okay, what genre is hitting, and then asking the question about, popularity or revenue and things like that. Then you have, placement. So that's what, distribution is. So for instance, even if you're selling like, bottled water or something, you need to get it into the stores. You have to get into the stores. So that's like the distribution start. So you need to understand, okay, where are my fans? What platforms are they on? Are they on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music? Where are they? Where should I be putting my music out? And, and not just putting it out, but being able to get that data to understand, okay, where are they? And then that would inform other things that could help you. For instance, where should I go on tour next? Where should I go have a concert? Maybe it's Kenya. I seem to have a lot of listeners, in Kenya. Let's go there and do something. Do you get my point? And then there's the last part, which is promotion. You just don't put the bottled waters and put the bottled water in the stores. You kind of need to do some advertising. You need to promote it. You need to use social media. You need to you need to put it out there in any way possible where you can get more people to go over there and buy it. Do you understand? So it's the same thing with your music. You can't just put it on the stores and then you fold your hands. And that's something we see, and then
artists do it all the time. That's the thing. Like, that's what I said at the start. It's like, oh yeah, I just throw my music up there. If I got Chioma on my case, loading it up for me, I got nothing to worry about. It's going to be all good.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's either they don't put your music, in the stores where they can be found, and then you're referring people with links to where they can listen to it, but you're promoting the music and people don't know where to go find it. It's stupid. And then maybe you distribute the music and then you're not promoting it in any way. Do you understand? So that's kind of what you see quite a bit, in the industry. It's ridiculous, really. So yeah, it's important that, you treat your music like a business, treat yourself as a brand, as a business. And I think if you can get that understood, even if you want, you don't have the funds, hey, businesses will look for investors, you could go figure out how you can get yourself investors. It could be within your family, and then, pitch something to them so you can get the money you need to get things running, and then learn to, and I think this is another big problem, once they make a little bit of money, they go buying flashy stuff. Maybe they haven't even gotten to where they need to be. Maybe they've gotten to they've gone from a level D artist to like a level C or D where, people know them a bit and they've made a little money. You need to kind of put that money back in and maybe use it to build a team if you didn't have one that can take you further, and things like that. So, I mean,
can you do me a favor and write the 4 Ps in the chat for everybody?
Okay, I'll do that.
And in the meantime, I'll tell, like, I was just watching an interview with Ice-T, who's basically, he's more of a TV star now than he is a hip hop artist. But he was saying the interview asked him, he said, what's the biggest thing you didn't know when you started? He said that you could rent all that crap. He's like that cover of the Power record, the famous one where he's got the shotgun and the woman in the bikini. He's like, that was his girlfriend at the time. That's his gun. He was like, I thought you had to have all that stuff. So people spend all this time buying things when they don't even need to buy. They can rent cars, they can rent jewelry. So I just think it's so interesting that people, like you're saying, spend all their money right away. I just thought it was a fascinating story that he didn't realize that people actually rented their persona, which I think is fascinating. Oh, there you go. Product placement price. Okay. So the thing I sort of want to end on is this idea, because you made a pretty good insight like that. You know, an artist, they might be focusing on the product, but not on the promotion. How, if you're new and you don't have a team and you don't even know that you need to promote things, like how do you get going? Because this, you must see this so often in your job, that people are like, the music's good, or they're sort of on the right path, but they have no idea what they're doing. How do they figure out what to do you think?
I mean, I think I've already said it. You need to, you know, actively search for like opportunities where you can, you know, engage or learn, you know, from people who you know, and a lot of times, even these thought leaders are very active on social media. You know, they're putting out stuff. You can engage and learn, ask questions. Many of them respond, you know, to questions and things like that. So I think that's one way. You can research, you know, do a Google search. It doesn't take anything. Maybe do a YouTube search. Like,
how do I become famous and rich?
Well, but I mean, you know, like look for resources. I know TuneCore has a very robust blog, like you can, you know, artists can go and check out and find information and stuff. But do what you can. You know, I always like to leave a disclaimer at the end of the day, because it, you know, it applies to this industry and so many other industry. It's not everyone that would make it at the end of the day.
What? What is the truth? I want to end on a high note. I want to end on a high note.
Okay, well, so let me scrap that. But I mean, it's the truth, you know. So I mean,
no, you are right.
Yeah, so I think it's just, it's the same with every business, you know. I don't know if you've ever started a business and it just didn't, it didn't go anywhere. I know I've tried, but you know, do what you can and then keep trying different strategies. You know, you should try one. If it doesn't work, try something else. You a lot of times don't need to reinvent the wheel, because there are really so many successful people who have done it. You know, so just maybe study and figure out what is it they do. You know, it could just be as simple as consistency. And that's one thing I have noticed with like a lot of the successful artists we have in Nigeria. They show up, they put out music regularly. You know, they don't vanish into thin air and resurface. You know, so that's that might be something you might want, you know, also adopt. You know, to keep showing up and putting out music out there for your fans and things like that. So yeah, you know, keep trying. Try one thing, doesn't work, try something else as well. And then,
like can you throw the TuneCore blog in the chat, and then your details as well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you. But I think like that's the perfect place to end. Keep showing up.
Yeah, just keep showing up. Keep trying. Yeah,
I would agree with you that I think that is the key. You have to show up for the first time, you know. Yeah. And then you need to keep showing up. I think it's like that's an amazing piece of insight. But does anybody have any final questions before we go? While you write in the chat, we'll just make sure no one else has anything they want to say.
Yeah, I want to be sure I get the right.
Well, look through.
Whoopsie.
Nope, I'm just checking to see if I missed anything. Oh. We had a few pre-questions. Do you want to throw them in the chat, Jamie? It's always a good sign, pre-questions. Oh, and I want to highlight somewhere in the chat here is the African Music Library. Huh, wow, I didn't see that. I got to look at that. Oh, this is a good one. This is from Jamie. I guess these were pre-questions. What are the funding opportunities for artists in Nigeria or Africa that you know about? Are there any public organizations that give money that you can get grants to record or to promote or anything?
I know there have been like some like financial bodies that maybe set up loan opportunities, particularly for music creators. I know of that. I don't know if it's actually off the ground. I know of like some of the financial bodies like Pop Rev. I think, I don't know if they're actually still running, to be sincere. That also, I know they went into partnership with the former company I was with, the music streaming platform here as well. So there are things like that. I don't know if there's anything government wise, but Women in Music is looking to do something like that. Actually, that is like the key project of because I'm co-chair, the chairperson for Women in Music Nigeria. That's something she's pursuing to set up, although it's more going to be catered to the women in music anyway.
But I think that's a great opportunity, because there's you can only do so much education, and if you've got cash money. And then the other thing is, the last question, what are the live music opportunities African artists can jump on and leverage to grow the revenue, and still keep releasing? So, yeah, like, what are the big live opportunities in it? Let's use Nigeria, for example, or say versus Ghana. Like, do people go on tour? Is that the way people, like, how many shows can you play on a Nigerian tour, for example?
Yeah, no, I mean, so touring is like one of the key ways artists make a whole lot of money. So there are things you can jump on. I can think of like something like Afrochella, which is a very big one, although it's in Ghana. In Nigeria, let me see. I don't know, for some reason, Awoshu is what's coming to mind. But typically, artists, especially during like December, they have their own, they do their own concerts and things like that. Toby, please come in. I think you know a lot as well.
Oh, good. Toby's rescuing that.
I just said there's Native Fest, there's Giddy Fests.
Yes, there's Giddy Fest. Thank you, Giddy Fest.
Yeah. So and then there's also Mainland, the one by Bizo, Mainland Block, and Island Block.
Is that really big? I mean, so when I say big, like something like Afrochella, Afrochella is really big. Ghana meets Nigeria is huge, even though they haven't done it.
Yes, I think the biggest concert really is the one that Lagos State government does. The countdown concerts and the Make Music Lagos. I feel like that's the biggest so far in Lagos.
Yeah.
So can we throw some links in the chat? But what those would be for much bigger artists, right? Like, not for newer artists.
Yeah, a lot of the time it's like for bigger artists, or maybe some like B level artists. Yeah. A lot of times, yeah.
B level being a good thing in this case, not a bad thing.
Being a good thing means like you're known, but maybe you're not like really big like that. But I do know like something like Afrochella, they have this segment. Oh Lord, it's called Rising Star, which is like catering to like up and coming artists. They usually might have a partner for that. Yeah, so that's also something else, to think about. And it's also something we are, our TuneCore also looking to see where we can have those types of opportunities where we can also showcase some of our up and coming artists as well on such platforms when we see, the opportunity to do that. We missed the opportunity last year with a partnership with PVO. We had like this event with PVO. PVO means Positive Vibe Only. It's like a party kind of stuff as well. But that was something we're looking to do, but we just eventually didn't pull it off.
Okay, good. Ooh, I'm tired now. I've learned so much. I was thinking maybe we should wind it down here, but I was thinking what we should do from now on is try to include the chat when we send out the link, because I think, it's great to listen along, but there's been so many good comments from people. And so I want to thank Toby and Max, I think it was, for, schooling me on what I need to know about all the subgenres. But Chioma, it was great to. Oh yeah, but
they came to
rescue. Yeah. But you had the most insight, and that's the most important. So I really wanted to thank you for joining us. It was great.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, I was.
Oh, it was awesome.
Distracted. I had family asking me questions.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. No one noticed. No one noticed. You shouldn't have said anything. Yeah. Act natural is the way it's supposed to work. So. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thanks for coming, everyone. We'll see. I want to see if I can save this chat. I'm saving the chat. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. And thank
you. See you later. Pleasure. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.